Okay, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, in the interest of time, and since it looks like there's at least a little bit of a lull of anybody coming in, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Linda Bridwell. I am the Executive Director of the Public Service Commission. I want to welcome you all this evening to the public comment meeting for case number 2025-00151, which is the Exie Solar siting application. So this case number is going to be very important for those of you who are wanting to make public comments after tonight. So I'll reference that a few times. That's the case that's in front of the Public Service Commission right now. So just as a meeting agenda for this evening, I will make a brief presentation first about the kind of the introduction to the Public Service Commission and the siting board. I'll talk about the process of the applications for the siting board, the process for the case. I'll go at a very high level what Exie Solar's proposal is and the conditions that have been placed on approvals in other projects. After that, if you have questions about the process of the case, I can answer those questions for you. And then we'll move into the public comment. And I want to make sure that you understand that if there are questions about the process of the case, that you ask that during the Q&A period, because once we move into the comment period, the commissioners we won't back up and answer questions at that point. So that's the public comment period to be filed in the record. So we do document all the public comments that are made tonight. The video from tonight, we record it all. It takes about 24 hours for us to get it online in the public record but of the case. So if you have someone who was interested but couldn't come tonight and they are interested in looking at the record of tonight and what was said, they can certainly go back probably late tomorrow and look at the video, watch the whole thing. And that's very important if you're interested. Our website has not only this record in this case, but you can go back to, I think we've approved, I think it's 44 or 45 solar projects. So you can go back to public comments and other cases, other public comment meetings, and see what might have been said and how those have moved forward. I want to be really clear about the purpose of tonight's meeting. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is a public comment period. It is an opportunity for you as members of the public to comment on your opinion about the project, or if you have some information that you would like to do. The commission and the staff are here to listen and to record the comment. We have two of our commissioners here tonight. They are listening to what you say. The reason I'm emphasizing that this is a public comment and we're here to listen is because the representatives of the project developer are not going to make a presentation about the project. And the commission is not making a presentation about the details of the project and not answering questions. So, and let me explain a little bit with the next slide about why that is, because sometimes we get people that really don't know enough about what's going on, but they're interested and they want to come out, and then they get very frustrated that they were expecting a big presentation about the details. And so the reason that we get into this is the commission really serves as a judge in a case, a judicial period. And so this is your opportunity to provide public comment. But just like if you were in front of the judge for a traffic ticket or something like that, the judge is not answering questions and making presentations. So the applicant previously notified all of the landowners and previously conducted a public meeting. The information about that is also in the case record if you were not able to attend that, so you can see what was presented at that time. So again, as I said, the representatives of the project developer, I think there are a couple of them here if you're interested in speaking with one of them, but they are not going to make a presentation tonight. And the commission is here only to listen. Now, we can talk about some generalities or answer questions at a very high level. But if you want to know, where this power is going or how they're hooking up or what these details are, we can't answer those questions. I can point you to the record in the case and you can go and look them up. But so I want you to keep your comments, if you can, tonight only to the parties involved and talk about this case that's in front of us. So just to give you a little background about the Public Service Commission, There are 3 commissioners at the Public Service Commission. They are appointed by the governor on staggered terms. They're then confirmed by the Senate. As I said, we have a kind of quasi-judicial duties. They really are looking at the applicant and anybody who might be opposed to the applicant and looking at and trying to find the balance there. The commission itself has about 88 employees. We regulate 1,100 different utilities in the state of Kentucky. We're funded by an assessment that's paid for by all the utilities in the state. And we've been around since about 1934, which kind of surprises people because they don't know what we do. The siting board, the Kentucky Electric Generation and Transmission Siting Board, was only created in 2002 by the General Assembly. The purpose of the siting board, which is housed inside the Public Service Commission, is to review applications for construction of electric generating facilities. So these are for sites that are not regulated otherwise by the Public Service Commission. And the thought being when the siting board was originally created that it might be gas or coal plants, but what we've seen actually since about 2019 is quite a bit of solar facilities, non-coal, non-gas type of facilities. The review focuses on noise, visual impacts, economic impacts, and transmission line impacts. So that's what's laid out in the statute when the Public Service Commission is looking to make a decision in a case. Have they met all of the standards that are put out in the statute that the General Assembly has said this is part of it? The review process is funded and paid for by the applicants. They have to put the money up front for even submitting the application and then for the review process. This is the important part. The siting board also includes the 3 commissioners, the Secretary of the Economic Development Cabinet or their proxy, the Secretary of the Energy and Environment Cabinet or their proxy, and then 2 local representatives who are appointed by the governor. So every single siting board case has a different siting board because those 2 local representatives change every single time. So the idea, the statute is really trying to make sure that there is local representation as part of that siting board process. Key terms that I want to talk about tonight: megawatt. Hopefully you all are a little bit familiar with that. How much electricity can be provided by the facility? Just to give you an idea, 1 megawatt will power about 750 homes. Just a merchant generator, and that's what we're talking about. A merchant generator is someone who's not, it's a facility that's not owned by a utility. That's a third party or a developer that is coming in and providing that generation facility. The decommissioning, the term decommissioning, is returning a facility back to the original land conditions. The siting board, again, as I've talked about, that's kind of how we shorten the Kentucky State Board on Electric Generation and Transmitting Siting, which is a huge mouthful, as you can imagine. So just to give you, again, a little bit more of an overview on the siting board itself, the generating facilities reviewed by the siting power sell power wholesale into the market, wholesale market. So for those of you who are familiar with the wholesale markets, you have your local electric utility who is providing power along the lines to your home. But in addition to that, there is a generation facility and a transmission facility to get that electricity to those lines that power your home. In Kentucky, many of our utilities, we call them vertically integrated, that they are allowed to own generation, transmission, and local distribution. Not all states work that way. We feel like that has served Kentucky well. But I want to make sure that you understand that in the purpose of this meeting tonight and some of the other siting board is to have a third party who is generating electricity to sell to the wholesale market, similar to like an electrical utility that's generating, but they're not able to provide power to individual homes. It's to the wholesale market. So siting board approval is required for merchant plants that are generating over 10 megawatts or more, or for transmission lines capable of carrying 69 kV or more. So the 7 members, we talked about the 7 members of the siting board for each case. The 3 commissioners, obviously, they don't change. The Secretary of the Energy Cabinet or their proxy, that person has not changed. I think in all our cases in the last 6 years, that has been the same person. the Secretary of the Cabinet for Economic Development, that we've had a little bit of a change there just from someone who left state government and they appointed a new proxy. And then the 2 ad hoc members, again, the 2 local members appointed by the governor is served just the specific case for that county. So you won't have somebody from Jefferson County serving on a Greene County situation. Ordinarily, the judge executive or the chair of the planning and zoning is 1 member, and that's by statute. So either or, if you have local planning and zoning, usually the chair of that or the judge executive. So the siting board timeline, you need to understand a little bit about the timeline. The local public meeting is held by a developer. That's, as they're starting to develop the project, they hold a local public meeting. Then after they've done that and they've gathered all the information that they need, they have an applicant, they file notice with the siting board at least 30 days out that they're going to file an application. They also have to provide public notice in the community that they are filing the application to the siting board. Then the application is filed. So once we receive a notice of intent, the siting board, the staff asks the governor's office to make the nominations to fill the ad hoc members. So usually sometime after the application is filed, those members are appointed. After the application is filed, the siting board establishes a procedural schedule, and this is very important. This is how the review process is going to work, because by statute, the General Assembly has said you must decide a case within 120 days, which is 4 months, or 180 days if we need to have an evidentiary hearing. And in most of these cases, we do have an evidentiary hearing. So even with the evidentiary hearing, the process has to be decided by the siting board in 6 months. As you can imagine, it's a legal process. There's a lot of back and forth between the parties, so it does take usually almost the full 6 months. Items that have to be included in the application. So evidence of the public notice. So report on the public involvement activities. Compliance with any local planning and zoning regulations and noise control ordinances. So that is something a lot of counties have. The General Assembly gave the power to the local counties to, if they wanted to do additional ordinances on top of what is required in the statute, that they could do that. The analysis of the effect on the proposed facility on the transmission grid. The analysis of economic impacts, and the disclosure of any past violations, environmental violations by the application. The applicants also have to submit a site assessment report. So the surrounding land uses, residential, commercial, agricultural, and recreation. And that's because there are some setback requirements in the statute from certain types of neighbors, residences, churches, hospitals, those sort of things. The legal boundaries, the proposed access control, is there going to be fencing? How much access is there to the site? The location of the facilities, the buildings, the transmission lines, and any other structures. The location of access ways, internal roads, railroads, existing or proposed utilities. Is there going to be water on site? How's the electricity or sewer getting to the site? Compliance with the applicable setback requirements, and that's usually an important one that a lot of the adjacent landowners want to know about. And then the evaluation of the noise levels both during the construction and then afterwards. So all of that has to be included when the application is filed in the site assessment report. So the criteria for evaluating an application is this, again, the statute by the General Assembly outlines the criteria to grant or deny a construction certificate. The impact on the scenic surrounding, the property values or surrounding roads, the anticipated noise levels during construction and operation, economic impact on the region or the state, if the proposed facility meets the local planning and zoning, the impact of the load on the reliability of the electricity or the local jurisdictional utilities. Again, the setback requirements. How effective is the mitigation measures on either the construction or the ongoing operation, and whether the applicant has a good environmental compliance history. So those are the things that the siting board is looking at. And generally the siting board, what we've done is the part of what the application fee is for is we as the commission hire a consultant that goes out and evaluates it. We don't try and staff up and have people who are experts in this. We hire an expert who's an independent expert, and they go out and make an evaluation on all of these different criteria and what's been reported. Some of the conditions that have been in other cases is a requirement to plant native species to shield, protect the scenic surroundings, limiting construction hours to basically during daylight times on work days. A requirement to repair any bridges or roads that may be damaged, coordinated with the counties. It's generally a bond is put up with the county to make sure that the roads are protective. Specific decommissioning plans, and this is usually an important one, and there's usually a bond requirement that the facility, once it's constructed, will put up a bond that the decommissioning will occur. So the land, if when it ceases to operate, the land will be returned to the original condition, and that bond is usually held by the county and is required to be maintained even if the facility would go bankrupt or something like that. Then they would still have the fees, the ability to return it to its original condition. So again, the bond with the counties is for the project life. One of the things the General Assembly has done is so the commission is looking at, the siting board is looking at approval just for the construction. Once it is constructed and operated, somebody still has to check that those bonds are still being paid and that it's being current, it's all being operated the way it's supposed to. That now sits with the Energy and Environment Cabinet in the Division of Waste Management. So because they're familiar with lots of decommissioning bonds for other types of facilities. So there's a requirement now that there's a permit that has to be maintained, and that decommissioning plan and bond all has to be maintained every year once it starts operation. So some of the other conditions establish a complaint process at any time during the construction, that the developer would have to do that they would also have to notify the PSC prior to the construction actually beginning. And then once the operation begins, then the Energy Environment Cabinet will take over monitoring. So that's one of the things that we just talked about. This is something I want to make sure that everybody in the room is understanding. The siting board does not review, is this the highest or best use of the land in question? And that is, again, that's a statutory requirement that the siting board has not been given that authority by the General Assembly to use that as one of the criteria, or alternative locations for the project. A couple meetings we've had, people have said, why don't you go here, why don't you go there? That's not part of the review process. So just to give you an idea now about the project, and again, this is a very high level. The notice of intent filed with the siting board on May 19th. The application and site assessment report was filed on August 6th. The proposed 110 megawatt facility on an 1,800 acre site here in Greene County. The application notified adjacent landowners. The applicant notified the adjacent landowners on July 24th, 2025. And the applicant conducted a public meeting on March 20th of 2025. So that was the public meeting. That was not tonight's. That was the public meeting that the developer had about the project before they filed the application. So just to give you an idea of the next steps, there will be a formal hearing, and I apologize, it's actually 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but it's Eastern Time, 9 a.m. The hearing will be held on December 18th in Frankfort at the Public Service Commission offices. So this is where we're going to talk a little bit about public comments. Oral public comments are offered prior to the beginning of the hearing. So you can come to the Public Service Commission and make public comments if somebody was not able to come tonight. That all, again, goes into the case record. The other thing you can do is if you get home after you've made your public comments, or your neighbor says, well, I wish I had known, you could say, okay, you can still make public comments. Three ways to do that. You can make them in writing. You can email them to us. Here's the email address, the PSC comment@ky.gov. You provide your full name and place of residence in the body of the email. Again, reference the case number, and we will put that in the record. There's a whole folder for public comments, and let me assure you the commissioners and the staff do read through those public comments. The other way you can do it, there's actually, if you go onto our website and you go to, I think it's a contact us, about the third thing down, says, would you like to make public comments? And you click on that, and it's a web form. And then you can just enter the case number, enter your name, and whatever your comment is. You don't even have to send an email. That all automatically uploads to the case record. The third thing you can do is if you, again, you can just send a regular letter. You can send P.O. Box 615 211 Sauer Boulevard, Frankfort, Kentucky. And that address, again, is on our website at psc@ky.gov. So anytime during the case that you have a case-related comment, you can, while it's in progress, you can make those comments. There's no limit to it. If you leave here tonight and you say, well, I didn't have anything I wanted to say, and you send an email, and then a month later you find out something else that you think, well, I really want to ask about this, or I really want to make a comment about this. All of that goes into the case record. I would say up through the time of the hearing and probably a couple weeks after that, it is all still being reviewed. The problem is, as it gets closer to the statutory date, it's less, there's less ability to impact those questions. All of the documents in the case are available online on our website. So again, there's a tab and it says Commission Records, and you just type in the case number, and you can pull up on the website everything if you want to read everything, including the site assessment report, the orders in the case. You can find about anything that you need on the case record there. So the decision by statute, again, remember I talked about that 180 days, must be made by February 2nd, 2026. So with that, this is your opportunity to ask questions about the process of the case. If you say, can you tell me a little bit more about how the case works? If you want to ask me details about what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, I simply cannot answer that. I will direct you to the case record. So, and if again, that is just the way that we work in making sure that all the parties have due process. It's a legal requirement, but we want to make sure that we come to your community and hear your comments so that you don't have to come to Frankfort if you don't want to. You can be here and make your public comments heard. So with that, do you have any questions? Because once we move into the public comment, and I know everybody's probably anxious to make comments, once we move into that, we won't answer any questions about the case. Yes, ma'am. Yes. This one. Oh, do I have the right? Yes. Do I have the right case number? No, I have the wrong case number. Okay. So, okay. Let me go back. Let me go back to the 2025-00151. And then, do you want me to leave this up during the public comment or add the web address for the commission? Does it matter? I can leave this up during the case. Did I have another question? Yes, ma'am.
How do we know that the consultant hired by the PSC won't be contacted by a lobbyist?
Well, I mean, I guess that's part of the legal process. Any more than in any other case, they're required to report it to us if they are contacted. But that would be considered ex parte communications, and we would have to probably dismiss the consultant at that point. Yes, sir.
We have a petition here that has nearly 300 signatures. Who do we need to send that to?
You can mail it to the commission, or you can leave it with us here tonight. What I would strongly suggest is if you want it in the public record, one of the things that we want to do is to make sure that people's names and addresses, if it is not clear in the petition that they agreed that this would be in the public record, then we will redact their name. It will still be, the commissioners will still be able to see it. They will still be able to see that there are 300 people. We just, we've gotten a couple petitions, and I just want to make sure that before people's names are posted on our website, because it's free for anybody to view, that it was very clear that they understood that it was going to be out on the internet, that their name, that they were opposed to this. So you can leave it with us here tonight. Glenn up here, wave your hand. He's our record keeper, and we'll take everything. Or if you want to wait and mail it to us at Sauer Boulevard, we can take it that way too. Yes, sir. So if it's posted in the public record, you go to the PSC website. And again, I will be very clear about that. If it's clear in the petition that they understood that they were, that they were, whatever they're signing, that was also going to be posted in the record of the case, then we will leave the names visible. If not, then they will be covered up. Yeah. Any other questions? Again, depending on the condition of it and whether we have to redact it, I mean, if we get it tonight and it's very clear, it could be posted within 24 hours. If it takes us a few days because we need to redact the names, then yes, sir. If I try to tell you that off the top of my head, I will probably tell you wrong. So I don't know. Do you know this one off the top of your head? Okay, so if you go to KRS 278.700, that has all of the setback requirements that are in the statute, and you can go to the LRC's website and make sure that you have that. Okay. Yes, sir. I believe it does. It has any of the statutory setback requirements are in there. Okay. Any other questions? I know you all are probably eager to get to the public comment period. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over, and then I'm going to let the commissioners introduce themselves, and we'll get started with that part of it. So.
Good evening. Thank you again for joining us. I am Mary Pat Regan. I'm a commissioner at the Kentucky Public Service Commission, and with me tonight is Commissioner Andrew Wood. Chair Angie Hatton was not able to join us tonight, but this meeting is being recorded, so she can watch this, and it'll be on our website for viewing. Again, we're here today to take public comments in the application of Exie Solar LLC to construct approximately 110 megawatt alternating current electric generating facility in Greene County, Kentucky. And just to reiterate the point made during the overview, the obligation of the sitting board is to review the applications and grant certificates, if approved, for the construction of electric generating facilities greater than 10 megawatts and transmission lines proposed by entities not regulated by the Public Service Commission. We understand that in any case proceeding proposing the construction of such a project, there are strong feelings on both sides. So we ask that you give each of the people who want to speak tonight the courtesy of letting them speak, and be respectful and mindful of the time limit for each of the speakers. So again, we're here to listen. We ask you to ask the questions because you will see us up here taking notes tonight. We're not working on something else. It helps us think of things that maybe we don't think of. So your comments are very important. And we'll tonight go to 5 minutes, and Commissioner Wood is our timer. And I will start with the first person who said they wanted to speak, and I apologize if I don't pronounce your name correctly. Alan Froggett?
I'd like to call over that
Later? Okay, we can come back to you. Kathy Froggett?
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Kathy Froggett. For the last 25 years, I have walked alongside my husband, Alan, on the family farm. When I was not at my full-time public job, Alan was raised on this land, and this is the land where we have raised our son, Mason. And I have hopes that Mason chooses to also raise his family here on our family farm. Alan and his family have paid taxes on this land for over 80 years. This is why I feel that, that our landowners' rights should be upheld with long-term family ownership and the physical labor they have put into the land. In 2018, Alan had to have emergency open heart surgery with a 4-way bypass. He has continued to work the land since that happened. But when the opportunity came along 2 years after that, with the solar company, with much discussion, we felt this was a major opportunity for us as a family to be able to slow down and someday retire. We also felt it was to prepare for our future, our son's future, and the following family in our generation. I feel that our right as landowners are at stake here by the group of people trying to impede upon our rights. We have always tried to be good neighbors and to help out when needed. We have also supported our community as a whole. I just ask that the board to consider our rights as landowners, and thank you very much for your time.
Joey Hauk?
Hello. First, let me just say that I am for this project, and I will say also that in my opinion, this was not a power grab by a solar company. We were contacted many years ago to see if our interest was there. We had a choice whether or not to participate in this or not. So it's nothing that was forced upon us, but we gave careful consideration and thought and prayer that went into this before we decided yes or no that we wanted to be a part of this. But as I wrote a few things down as I was thinking about speaking today, I wanted to say this. In a world where it seems everyone and everything is divided and at odds with one another, it saddens me that we too are divided in our community. I'm disappointed that I have to defend a decision on how to use my own property. I've always thought it was not my business what others do with their property. When other people put oil wells, big chicken houses, horses, or anything else, most of the time, if not for recreation, people do this for one reason, and that is to make money to provide for their families. And I would say to you, if you're doing that and whatever you do on your farm, I'm glad for you, and I hope nothing but the best for you. I feel as long as it's legal and as long as the ones who we've agreed to lease our property to are following the laws and guidelines that are legal, it is the landowner's business, not anyone else's. After all, it is private property. And I've heard it said, you take care of what's on your side of the fence, and I'll take care of what's on mine. But it seems now that I'm being told what I can and can't do with my own private property. And I do not agree with this. In a community where some of our farmers are aging and can possibly have to sell their farms, why not let them be able to keep their property and earn an income, which would allow them to keep the family farm and pass it down to their children and their grandchildren. My wife and I, with our own property, have leased our property for years and earned a meager wage for this. And now it seems the cost of everything is going up and up. And my family and I would be able to use this solar opportunity to help provide income for our retirement and to be able to leave the farm intact for my family, for my children, and for my grandchildren. Thank you.
Oh, sure. And if you'll state your name before you start, that would be great.
Joey Frog, Greensburg, Kentucky. If you got it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've lived down at Lyltown for almost 80 years. I've paid taxes on my land. I own quite a bit. I've paid taxes on it for 66 years, maybe a little longer. But one thing I'd like to know is what is wrong with this solar system. I don't see a thing wrong with it. They say that it'll have runoff, cause cancer. I don't believe that. And they also say that it'll flood Lyltown, the runoff will. I've been living there and I've seen it over the bridge, and no solar system there then. Seen it over the bridge and over the road lots of times. And my son's got pictures of it. So I don't know what more to say except that somebody's badly wrong in what they're telling or whatever. So thank you.
Thank you.
Brad Thompson?
Good evening.
Good evening.
5 years ago, when we decided to put this in solar, my dad was still alive. He died in April 24. He was looking forward to seeing solar. He was interested in it. My dad, a few more behind me here, they didn't get to where they was by listening to neighbors tell them what to do and what they couldn't do on the property. And we're not going to start today either. You know, this project is going to be good for this county. It's going to generate a lot of money in taxes for this county, which Greene County needs. You know, fundraisers for schools and fire departments, you know, them donations are going to be extra besides what the county's going to make. And, you know, our fire departments need this. Our schools need it. Whatever they can get, this county needs it. But, you know, we got some people that don't have a clue what's going on. You know, they think the solar's terrible. I don't think so. You know, Greene County needs to be on a map for something that we've got. You know, we're small. But, you know, you talk to KU, Taylor County RECC, they want something. They need energy made. They can't keep up. They'll tell you we need solar power. I mean, some of the guys I have spoke to told me that. So that comes straight from them. You know, it's okay for our neighbors to do what they want on their property, but whenever we decide we want to do something, they don't want it. You know, we don't get in their business. We don't care what they do across the fence. Don't care. When they was poking holes years ago for oil, you know, that was a big racket. We didn't care. What nothing to us. They went on about their business, collected the money. But those folks now have got a problem with us. You know, raising crops, soybeans, corn, tobacco, the chemicals on them products are a lot more dangerous than any kind of solar panels ever getting put up. I mean, I know that there's dangerous chemicals in crop, and there's crops at home that's borderline on the road. You could drive down the road and spit on a crop. They're so close to the road. And you know, there's folks back here behind me that's got crops right around their house, and they're looking at 12 feet corn. But you know, they don't want to look at solar because they're getting paid for what's on their property. So why is it okay for them to get paid and we don't get? They don't want us to do nothing. So that's just a bunch of bull crap. If they can collect money off of their farm, then we ought to be able to do what we want to do. I mean, it's come down to you know, there's one place down below me that's they've got hogs right on the side of the road, pigs. I mean, you can drive by, the pigs are right here. I don't care. It don't bother me. But if they can have pigs on the side of the road, then why can't we have solar? So, you know, like I said, it's okay for certain people to do whatever they want to do, but they don't want us to have solar. You know, a lot of people that don't farm has no clue what we deal with every day. I'm 51 years old, and I'm ready to slow down, and this is a good opportunity for us. You know, when I'm dead and gone, my child and grandchild will still be drawing money out of this, hopefully. And you know, it's come down to pretty much a private property issue at this point. You know, I spoke with Ryan Biven. I know Ryan personally, state representative. He told me that, you know, at the end of the day, private property belongs to you. What we do is our own business, and neighbors can't stop us. And he said, I will fight for private property people all day long while I'm in this office. And, you know, we've got the right to do what we want to do, just like our neighbors have got the right to do what they want to do. We don't care what they do. It just makes no difference to us. But when the tables are turned and it's our turn to do something, we want to do it. And there's no reason for this meeting today to begin with. It's our property, it's our rights. This has been going on for 5 years now. They've had 5 years to complain. But now they want to bring it up 3 months before time for a permit. So, you know, it's just a bunch of bull crap the way they've done. You know, what some of them's done is split this county or our community to either it's here or it's there. I know my time's running up and I'm about done. But this needs to be continued because the solar people has already invested thousands of dollars. You just can't jerk the rug out from under them at the end of the time. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Rick Arell? Did I say that correctly?
Well, I couldn't hear you. I can't
Okay.
hear very good. My name is Rick Atwell, and my wife Mildred and I want to thank this board for allowing us to express our concerns about not only the Exie Solar project, but about the effects of hundreds of acres of solar panels being placed on farmland in Greene County. Mildred and I have discussed if by voicing our concerns and opinions about this, we're doing the right thing. These are our friends and neighbors that may see things differently. Many times we have different opinions than those we care about, but we don't voice them. But because we feel that this is so important, we have a right to have our concerns heard. The most direct concern that we have, and have written to the Siting Board and the Public Service Commission, as well as Courtney Whitworth with Geronimo Power, is regarding the water that flows as a spring onto our property that originates on a property that is in the project. We have received a response letter and a map from Courtney Whitworth with Geronimo Power showing the setback of the project from this area, and she has stated they will not disturb the trees or soil where these springs and rainfall runoff flows. We appreciate this change, and hopefully that will ensure that nothing will be done to interrupt or stop the stream of water that flows onto our property. The stream of water is invaluable to us and our property. We were wondering if there has been any independent environmental impact studies done in this area to ensure that the long-term effects of this and other projects are not going to adversely impact our environment. It is a scientific fact that rainfall follows trees, and trees play a significant role in the water cycle. When many acres of trees are cut to place solar panels, then this, I would think, would have to have an effect on our environment. The environment is a concern that we should all have any time there is something affecting this many acres of our land. Another concern is that we have is the impact of property values of adjoining landowners and landowners in the community. Exie Solar has provided a study, and they submit that land values will not decrease. But I ask you, if you were looking to purchase a house or property and you were given the option to buy a property that has a beautiful view of fields, of crops, trees, hills, with cattle grazing, or the option of a view of fields and solar panels, which would you buy? I think we all know the answer to that question. We don't think our neighbors have set out to do something that would give them financial gain while at the same time devalue the property of those that join them, or that they would want something done that would harm our environment. This is uncharted territory for this area and possibly the type of terrain that we have here with its many streams, hills, trees, drains, and sinkholes. We do not want to wake up one day and say that because of all this property and farmland was put in solar, that we have caused great damage to our environment. Leaving our children the best environment that we possibly can might be better than leaving them something else. Thank you again for this time. We would also like to thank our county judge and all the magistrates for giving us the opportunity to express our concerns to them last week. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale Decker? Dale Decker?
Yes, my name is Dale Decker, and first I'd like to say that I am not opposed against solar, and I recognize people's rights to do what they want on their land. But the notion of living on an island in the middle of a solar farm is not something I'd ever thought we'd be doing. But if the Exie Solar project is granted a certificate of construction as proposed, island life may become a reality for us and our other neighbors. Exie Solar would claim that having power lines running along the fence line in your backyard and solar panels 2,400 inches away from your home won't negatively affect you. This is simply not true. The proposal to construct a solar project has already had a negative impact on our lives and the lives of others in our community. In a project area of 1,340 acres that spans across approximately 3.5 miles of southern Greene County, is there no other possible routing for the transmission lines? The visual resource assessment characterizes the project area as rolling terrain. Behind our home, the terrain is rolling. This is due to the karst features in the area. The last thing I need is damage to our home caused by construction activity near the sinkhole that is already encroaching on our property. Has Exie ever addressed the issue of karst that is present throughout the project area? Water runoff is a common concern associated with projects like this. Permitting installation of solar arrays on land that is not well suited will only increase the potential of damage to our local environment. Project maps show areas where deforestation is planned to accommodate the installation of solar panels. Any deforestation, especially on terrain with high slope gradients, will only increase the amount of stormwater runoff. Water runoff from a large portion of the project flows into Greasy Creek and its floodplain. Increased stormwater runoff will increase the risk of flooding for the area that's already been mentioned, that are already prone to flooding. Increased runoff will also have a negative impact on the biodiversity of Greasy Creek, as well as downstream in the Little Barron and Green Rivers. With regard to the visual impact, Exie says the glare, according to their glare analysis, that the glare exposure will be minimal. Well, I guess that depends on your perspective. We happen to be receptor number 23 in that analysis. Now, if you average it out, it's less. But without averaging the results of all receptors, the amount of glare that we'll be getting between mid-March and mid-September is approximately 40 minutes a day. So my question is, how much glare is considered appropriate for an adjacent homeowner? And of course, our exposure is not the worst in the area, but it's near the top. The visual resource assessment also states that the Exie project is proposing the use of agricultural style fencing in lieu of galvanized chain link fencing. So my question is, why in their decommissioning plan is there 29 miles or 828 tons of chain link fencing listed in their decommissioning plan? Is this an additional attempt to greenwash the impact on our neighborhoods? And yes, we do live in a neighborhood. Just because Exie Solar doesn't identify all the neighbors in and around the project doesn't mean they don't exist. Setbacks are crucial in limiting the impact of this project on our neighborhoods. Thank you for listening to our concerns.
Thank you. Mike Martz. Maybe. I got that totally wrong, didn't I? Sorry.
Name's Mike Matney. I was born at the old Jane Todd. Probably die in Greene County someday. I've been here all my life. And I know about everybody in here. And I think the world of just about every single one of y'all on both sides. I'd do anything for anybody. Y'all know that. I've been deputy sheriff here almost 32 years. I worked all night last night on call. Anything happens, I'm coming. And I still will, no matter what. I'm signed up in these solar panels, and I see some of y'all's view. I really do. But the way I look at it, we're all aging. My kids ain't going to farm, and I don't want them to, because I've worked my butt off my whole life. My dad, we've milked, we've logged, we've done everything. Tobacco, I mean everything. Anybody that raised tobacco is one working person, I tell you. Everybody knows that's the hardest job in the world, and it is. And I respect all of y'all. But the way I look at it, I'm either going to have to sell it one of these days. My kids probably sell it after I die or something. But if I sign it up in solar panels, got about 30, 35 years there, guaranteed money coming in, take care of my family. Take care of my children, my grandchildren. I don't see nothing wrong with it. It's better than letting it grow up in thistles or selling it and letting subdivisions come in. You know, that's happening everywhere. Everywhere you go, things are changing. Even along Mill Ridge Road, I used to know everybody and their brother, and now you don't know 1 out of 10 houses. So the solar panels, in my opinion, they look good, they're neat, remind me of Arlington Cemetery. I mean, they're just straight, pretty. I don't see nothing wrong with them. The water runoff, I agree, that may be a problem, but far as I know, the solar panels make electric, they don't make water. When it rains, water goes downhill. There ain't gonna be a bit more water than they are anyway. So I just don't know what else to say about that. But I just want everybody to know that I'm on everyone's side here, but you gotta look at our side too. And I thank everybody for the opportunity to talk here tonight. And I think it's a good thing for us and a good thing for the county. We're talking about powering up 75,000 homes. How else could we do that in Greene County? What else could we do to help everybody as much as that? I don't know about y'all's electric bill, but mine's pretty darn high. You know, the whole world is going electric. In my opinion, the solar people, they ought to build like 30 or 40 or 50 square miles out west in the deserts and power up the whole world. But they got it scattered out everywhere to help different places, different communities, to make the electric a little cheaper. And I hope and pray it does. So forgive me if I've hurt anybody, because I don't mean that, anybody. But I think it's a great thing. And if y'all ever need anything, please call me. I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex Combs.
Thank y'all for letting us come speak. I don't have a whole lot to say, so I'll try to be quick. I do want to say I don't hold against any of my neighbors for doing what they feel is best with their land. I don't hold against them one bit. The only real issue I have with it, I have a few, but my main one is when you do something on your land and it ends up affecting your neighbor. Say, for instance, you know, I'm at the end of a dead-end road, and I'm surrounded by about 7/8 of my property line will be surrounded. You know, if my well is somehow messed up from this, what am I supposed to do? You know, I can't afford to have them send city water all the way up the rest of my road. You know, I operate 2 businesses, and that's 2 businesses, if I were to have to sell because of something like this, that Greene County would lose. And yes, they may be small businesses, but small businesses are the backbone of this state. So, I mean, I don't hold against any of y'all one bit. I respect you for doing what you feel is right for your families. I can't hold that against you at all. But I would like Exie Solar to investigate these matters much more thoroughly and show us some kind of assurances that if something were to happen, that they would take steps to make it right. That is my main issue. My second issue is, you know, a lot of people don't want to look at it. I understand that. I don't really want to look at it either. I moved here 6 years ago to raise my son. And, you know, I don't want to look at it, but if they want to, that's fine. It's not my land. But I would like Exie Solar to do more so that we don't have to see this as much, considering that I'm completely surrounded. I would like them, when I asked the lady at the meeting, I said, "You're going to put in cedars, is that correct?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Cedars are very slow growing. And I understand you don't want to shade the solar panels. You're going to cut all the trees, level everything out so that there's no shade and you get the max amount of sunlight. That's understandable. But I would like to see more things done. Plant fast-growing evergreens, not deciduous trees that lose their leaves and all of a sudden for 6 months out of the year we all have to look at this. Those are my main concerns, affecting our water quality and our water table and that. That's pretty much all I have to say tonight. I'm sure I'll think of some stuff later, but I appreciate y'all for your time.
Thank you. Darla Decker.
Hello, my name is Darla Decker. I live at 2853 Lylltown Road. I thank you guys for coming down so that we can share our thoughts. First thing I want to talk about are some health issues. As we're all aware, there are numerous health issues or health concerns about living in proximity or close proximity to solar farms. The information provided to some of the persons in this project by Geronimo Power, aka Exie Solar, contained third-party studies assessing environmental health and safety. These studies discuss cadmium telluride being present in the solar panels. Most of the studies reference words like less leachable, less toxic, less expected, not expected, minimal. However, they cannot and do not state that there is no risk. With the amount of cadmium telluride that is in each solar panel, based on the number of panels planned for the project, we stand to have significant amounts of carcinogenic materials affecting our land, water, and air. The China peer review provided states that in an average module breakage of 0.04% per year, there are 262,000 panels planned here, so on average we could see 104 panels broken per year. The North Carolina University Executive Summary indicates 7 grams of cadmium in one CDT panel. Apparently, this form of cadmium is 1/100th% of the toxicity of free cadmium. So bear with me. If each panel has 7 grams of cadmium, that equates to 7,000 milligrams. A lethal dose of raw cadmium is 9 milligrams per square meter if inhaled for a few hours. So even with cadmium telluride being only 1/100th as toxic as raw cadmium, that's still extremely dangerous. Exposure to even a minute amount can cause all sorts of things like chronic kidney disease, impaired lung function, cancer, and organ failure. Again, this can mostly be eliminated by locating the project away from homes and people. As I'm sure you're aware, the Unbridled project, also by Geronimo Power in Henderson County, had an inverter fire last week. This is a prime example of how anyone living close by could be affected. If the news reported it correctly, fire personnel had to make 2 visits to the site and someone had to remain there for 24 hours. They did mention that only 3 or 4 people lived within half mile, not a few hundred feet like they want us to do. Fortunately, this fire was detected fairly quickly, and I'd hate to think what would happen to us if Exie Solar should have a similar issue. Placing the project within 200 feet of homes would no doubt be a disaster. A fire of this nature releases toxic substances depending on the components of the inverter, which can cause various long-term health issues. So even minute amounts of those substances can be quite harmful. Our local fire departments are volunteer, and while they are very well-trained personnel, a solar farm fire poses much different circumstances than normal fires that they're accustomed to. So an extra strain on our fire departments could be substantial. One of the main issues I have personally is the location of the high voltage transmission line for the project. When I inquired of the Exie Solar representative as to where the line would be placed, she stated, quote unquote, right along your fence. There have been ongoing studies for years regarding health problems associated with living near high voltage power lines. And the one health issue from all the studies that is alarming is that of childhood leukemia. One study published in the British Columbia Medical Journal indicates that living within 200 meters, 600 feet, has an increased risk of 69%, and residing between 2 and 600 meters of the lines has an increased risk of 23%. Epidemiological studies on electromagnetic fields and childhood leukemia show mixed results, but indicate the link to EMF exposure and the disease may have a 2.5 times greater risk than those further away. In addition, an article from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences notes that the evidence is consistent across different continents, study types, measurement methods, and etc. It indicates it's time that exposure to frequency EMFs is recognized as a potential risk factor for childhood leukemia. I have a granddaughter who is currently in remission from childhood leukemia, and I think it's a reasonable conclusion that if exposure can cause childhood leukemia, it can bring it out of remission. There's sufficient space on the properties already leased to arrange a transmission line connection points to the existing grid, switch yard, substation, away from homes. And it really makes no sense to unreasonably subject homes to that part of the project. So once you start taking a good look at the footprint, you'll see that the large part of it sits directly along and uphill from Greasy Creek. All runoff, even that with contamination, will flow downhill straight into the creek. And Greasy Creek flows into Little Barren and on into Green River. Green is one of the most biodiverse rivers in the country. It contains endangered species, some of which are endemic to Green River. And we live in the middle of the Green River watershed. With our streams filtering into the river, what happens here affects what happens downstream, including going through Mammoth Cave National Park. Protecting the groundwater that feeds into the river is important for the survival of many of those species. And while we acknowledge the need for renewable energy, we're extremely concerned that the risk to our ecosystem far outweighs the potential benefit. Is that?
You can keep going.
Can I go? Thank
Yeah.
you. In the application that Exie Solar filed with the PSC, they identified no residential neighborhoods on the interior of the actual project footprint. They did identify 2 residential neighborhoods within the 2,000-foot setback area that barely bordered that area. The map marking the residential neighborhoods and structures appears to be lacking. There are a few of us that have homes that are situated right in the middle. I mean, in fact, as my husband stated, we're an island, and we're basically surrounded, very similar to what Mr. Combs said. A residential neighborhood is defined as a populated area of 5 or more acres containing at least 1 residential structure per acre, so 5 acres, 5 houses. The statutory setback for residential neighborhoods is 2,000 feet from the project plan. So using the Kentucky Energy and Environment Cabinet Solar Suitability Tool, we took a look at our neighborhood. While it's not marked on any map by such as Exie Solar, we were able to find that we actually do qualify as a residential neighborhood along with 4 additional areas. So we will submit our maps to the board under separate cover if that's okay, and then accordingly we respectfully request that those areas be identified as such for this project and that we be afforded the 2,000-foot setback provided by the statute. And I find it hard to believe that our legislators did not intend to provide some protection via the 1,000-foot setback to all people, and it doesn't make sense to limit that statutory protection based on who's purchasing the power. So perhaps they'll address that during the next session. And on one last thing, it's concerning that every application filed with you guys, with the PSC by the merchant power companies, they always seek to deviate from the statutory setbacks. They always come up with some reason why they should be allowed to encroach upon the homes and neighborhoods. And my favorite of these is, you've done it before and you have to do it again. So as I'm sure you know, you don't have to do it just because it was done previously. And I think each case should be decided individually, and we request that you please give this issue the much needed attention it deserves. And I thank you for doing that and providing us with a distance where we can all live safely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do you want to, and if you want to leave that, we can enter that into the record. And anybody else who has notes or something that,
Well,
if
this
you
is
want
that
to.
marked.
Okay.
I'll
Yep.
send it in when I send the maps.
Okay.
Okay,
Great. Thank you. Kate Judd.
Hello, my name is Kate Judd. I live at 1815 Lyalltown Road. I appreciate the PSC for taking the time to come here and listen to our concerns. I'm 21 years old and have lived in Lyalltown for my entire life. I'm not being paid to be here, and I'm not a lobbyist. Throughout the many discussions surrounding the proposed Exie Solar facility, one key factor has been overlooked: opposition of emerging adults within the community. A petition opposing the project has garnered an impressive 279 signatures. Approximately 55 of these 279 signees are under the age of 30. As a collective group, we've been overlooked and dismissed as the majority of us are not yet landowners and do not have as much existing stake in the current real estate landscape. However, does that mean that the opinions and concerns of the future proprietors of the community should be overlooked? From our perspective, it seems as though our future is being greatly impacted in a manner in which we have no control. Con Resnick LLC, whose sister company, Con Resnick LLP, received an SEC penalty in June 2022 of $1.9 million to settle allegations of improper conduct, provides the real estate adjacent property volume impact report located in the application exhibit Site 1 assessment report. Page 9 of Part 1 of said report states, solar development increased most exponentially over the past 10 years in the United States as technology and the economic incentives, solar investment tax credits, or ITC, made the installation of solar farms economically reasonable. Skipping down to page 10, the report states, on July 4th, 2025, President Trump signed a budget reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill, which includes immediate implications and introduces a mix of incentives and compliance challenges for the U.S. solar industry. It encourages accelerated development by allowing commercial solar projects that begin construction by July 4th, 2026 to bypass a strict 2027 in-service deadline, making it easier to qualify for technology-neutral tax credits, potentially covering 30 to 70% of project costs. It is not incomprehensible to conclude that our area has been specifically targeted due to the lack of zoning laws in place by our local government. This significantly reduces project costs, time, and uncertainty. The absence of restrictive regulations on land use, setbacks, and land clearing makes the county more attractive to developers and makes locating a project here within a short amount of time to benefit from these tax credits relatively feasible, meaning that Geronimo Power and their investors could benefit from the tax cuts in the very near future at the cost of the residents here. This project is undoubtedly disjointed and pieced together in an awkward design, with some of the parcels being over 1/4 mile apart, one of which lies between the two parcels owned by my family and directly behind my neighborhood, which conveniently has not been identified by Exie Solar. The maps we have reviewed have several issues, such as lack of identification of residential neighborhoods, homes marked as participating that are not, homes that are completely missing from them. They have failed to identify cemeteries and gas lines, including such would be crucial to have an accurate picture of what they're actually planning to do. It's frustrating for local citizens not to know what to expect. The company appears to cherry pick what they submit to you so that you only see what they want you to see. I know you all will be looking into the project, and we thank you for that. Finally, I would like to address the fact that Exie Solar has not secured any decommissioning bond. This is stated on page 144 under section 1 of the decommissioning plan provided in the construction application. I do not feel that the data request submitted by the PSC on September 18th, 2025 adequately addresses this matter. I urge the board to pursue answers regarding decommissioning, specifically the procurement of such a bond, more accurate cost of decommissioning, and the fact that the bond will need to be adjusted periodically throughout the project's lifespan. Again, I would like to thank the PSC for coming out and giving us the chance to voice our concerns.
Thank you. Marcus Wright.
Hello, I'm Marcus Wright. Thank you for taking your time. I had several things to say tonight, but actually most Mr. Atwell and Mr. Decker hit on a lot of it. But my main concerns was, and I'm good with everybody with the solar going in or whatever, that's fine for the families and the farmers. But my concern was just the environmental impact. I know when you set it in, they need to have rules and regs they need to go with. They just need to make sure that they're stern on them. And that was my main concern, is environmental. With the water runoff, there's going to be some runoff, no doubt in my mind. but it trickles down, it goes through the water systems, and and I've been in water all my life, and it's going to affect somewhere down the road if whatever the solar panels is made of, eventually sometime or another, that's going to leak out, and it's going to come up like PFAS, which we're already in the process of trying to test for, which you probably already know. But anyway, that was my main concern, and just make sure that the environmental is stern and tough. Make sure everybody's safe. Thank you.
Tabitha Urban?
Hello, my name is Tabitha Irvin. I live at 2969 Lyletown Road. And a lot of what I was going to talk to you about tonight has already been addressed. I just have concerns about the EMFs, the electromagnetic fields from the transmission lines, and the toxic heavy metals leaching out. I'm not opposed to renewable energy. I think it is important. I'm not sure Greene County is the place to put that, but not all solar projects are without risk, and this is a large-scale proposal. Like I said, a lot of the health concerns, the cadmium, the heavy metals has already been talked about. I just want to say I love my neighbors. I've always tried to be good to them. They've always been good to us. I understand this concerns their land, and no, I didn't buy and pay for it. I don't consider I have the right to say, yes, you can do this, or no, you can't do that. But this is proposing hazardous or harm, I feel like, to my family from the transmission line and those EMFs being so close. The proposal is so close to not just our property line, it's our home. Like I said, I understand this concerns their lands, but I just want my family to be safe from these lines and the heavy metal runoff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Brian Irwin?
I want to thank y'all for hearing everybody's concerns. My too, I've always had good experience with all my neighbors. I'm kind of like Mike with that. We know why everybody, they've done good for me. I've tried to do back as well. But like my wife said, there's concerns, and I just want to express my concerns. And on the solar project, I know there's positive and negative. And the research that you can gather, there's all kinds of research on it. But I know at close proximities, it can be 5 to 7 point something degrees warmer around these projects. Just like they say, if the panels get damaged, if they've got a further distance away, the less apt, your neighbors or your residents are going to be in contact with, maybe hazardous chemicals if they do leak. I just asked you to look at the Kentucky state statute and even Exie Solar, which I know they have somewhat, but I would just like them to look at that and then maybe, maybe everything will be a little more clear, maybe on distances and safety measures and all that. But anyway, I'd just like to thank y'all for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. James Bonta? Pass. Anthony Curry?
Good evening. My name is Anthony Curry. Most of you here know me. Like we talked about, we're talking about our good friends and neighbors that's doing this. So I'm not here to make no enemies. I don't think none of us are. I just want to speak for my concern of this. I'm here today as a concerned neighbor in our community of the Pierce area. My family for several generations have owned a piece of land on the Lyletown Road. And just a couple years back, me and my wife have built our home on our land. Now we have a 6-month-old son that hopefully one day I'll get to pass that land on down to. I'm here today to tell you, I'm not here today to tell you about all the health risks. They've done been mentioned, all the health risks and the issues and side effects of these solar panels. I'm sure there's others here today that's already speaked on that, and there is. I'm just here today to have my voice heard as a concerned citizen in our community. My concern has been the lack of notifications from the solar project. As a family, my family that lives on Lyletown Road, I was never notified. I've never had a letter in the mail or anything notifying that there was going to be solar panels put in our community. I had to hear it from another concerned neighbor. Looks like they could have done that for us, but I'm here today just to say this. Being a landowner myself, I know that we cannot tell you what you can and cannot do on your land, and I'm not here to try to do that. You own the land, you pay property tax on it, that's your land, 100%. I think all of the rest of us here today can say the same thing. We're not here to do that. We're not here to try to tell you what you can do and cannot do on your own land. I think we're all here today to get a larger ordinance put in place that will keep these solar panels from being placed so close to some of the homes. If no ordinance is placed, in some of these homes that people live in here today will have solar panels within just a couple 100 feet or less from their porches, which from the research that I've done is very dangerous and not comfortable at all. So please hear all the voices here today and get a larger ordinance put in place to keep these solar farms at a safe distance from our homes. I don't think 200 feet is a safe distance. I think a larger distance should be put in effect. I believe the chicken houses have a larger distance than that. So I'm just here today to say that I think a larger ordinance should be put in place for these solar panels and not right in somebody's back porch. 200 feet is not very far at all. Like I said, we're not here, I think all of them agree with us, to tell you what you can do and not do on your land. We're just here concerned about the effects of them being so close to our homes and to some of the homes that's in here, people living in here today. I thank you all for your time and hearing what I have to say, and please take it into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Caitlin Joseph. Oh, shit, okay. Shawnee Shefflin. Did I get that right?
Oh, no. You
No.
didn't get close. It's Shauna Shuffett.
Okay, thanks.
That's okay. So I grew up out in Pierce on Lyletown Road. My grandparents grew up out there. My great-grandparents were out there. I don't currently live out in Pierce. I live here in Greensburg. My mom still lives out in Pierce. I have cattle out in Pierce. So I'm very involved and interested in the project. Some of our family farm, we've signed up for the solar. I think the most important thing, and two, I come from a transportation background. I work in right-of-way, so I know about eminent domain. So the fact that you have this many property owners agree to a project is fantastic, because I'm under the guise of eminent domain. Hey, whatever you want, like it, don't like a project, we're going to happen. This is totally different. I'm all for property owners' rights. I think it's your decision what you do with your property. I think we need a smaller government. But also on that, I was a biology major, so I'm into science. I understand environmental impacts. I like to hunt. I like nature. I'm into national parks. And I think that it's important to understand risk and know, hey, yeah, everything is a carcinogen these days. Everything. You eat burnt steak. That's actually a carcinogen. So understanding the environmental impacts is important, but I think the most important thing is that there are so many environmental studies with highway projects and solar projects that this is taken care of. Third-party people look at this to kind of keep a separation of line. I know that was something that was mentioned. It's not to pay people off or anything. It's because it's more, I guess in a way, gives you a better sense of separation. There's checks and balances that need to be had. The solar project, their engineers know what they're doing. There's all sorts of laws to protect people and their rights and personal property owner rights to do what they want. I hope one day to move back out to Pierce, build a house on one of the farms. We'll be pretty close to the solar project itself. Most of the people that signed up live out there. So I think, both people are, have concerns, but I think everything has been looked at. And the important part is, we all want the same thing. We want people to be able to do what they want with their property. And signing up for solar is great. My grandpa worked incredibly hard on those farms, and one thing that he always wanted to do was take care of us, take care of my mom, take care of me and my sister. And I think this is a way to kind of pay homage to him and say, hey, we did this, and this is going to set us up. And then his great-grandkids that they were never able to meet. So I think the solar is a great thing for the project, the community. The other solar project in the county just donated $20,000 to the food bank. That's a great thing. That's $20,000 to help feed people here. And I know that this company is going to do great things for the community as well. And I think that should overlook any arguments with your neighbors. So I think that I'm for the project. I think people should do what they want with their property.
Thank you. Vanda Lyle.
Good evening. My name is Vanda Lyle. I am the proud mother of Shauna. I do not speak as fast as she does. But there are some things that I like to point out. She covered some of the things. I come from a long life of farmers. I remember riding a mule when I was young, when my grandfather and my dad plowed tobacco and spent many hours in tobacco patch, hay patch, cornfield, back when you picked it by hand. And I have a lot of memories on that farm. And with the way that things are going with farming and the ability to sustain farms, I'm not sure that my grandchildren would be able to continue. And it's important to me that the farms stay in the family. I'd like to point out that tobacco money paid for my education. It paid for part of Shauna's education. It paid part of my other daughter's education. And it will trickle down to my grandchildren's education. There is just no way I can explain how much I love farm life. If you farm, you love the life. I'm a retired teacher. What did I do? I came back to the farm. I farm a little over 300 acres, pretty much by myself, other than when Shauna can help me. And it's important to me. And as I look around, I see people that have moved in here, and they can't love the land like we do. And yet they're questioning what I want to do with my land. And there's a few little points that I would like to make. I know change is hard, but my dad always said change brought on opportunities. And unless you take on those opportunities and change, you will never be successful. And this is our opportunity to be successful. This is our opportunity to make something that we can pass down and we can be proud of. A few years ago, CREP program came in. Everybody hated it. It's going to be ugly. It's going to catch on fire. It's going to burn the neighborhood. Well, CREP is gone. Neighborhoods are still there. Years before that, Green River Lake. Oh, that's prime farmland. It's river bottoms. Today, look at the industry it is and all the revenue it's brought in. Light poles themselves, some mention those. For almost a century, there was arguments over light poles because they were ugly, they were in the way, nobody wanted them on their property, they were transitioning from gas to electric, and it was new, they just didn't want to do it. And as far as distance from the house, I see that, I get that, and I understand that. Out of the ones over here, there's only been one couple that has actually discussed anything with me. I've been open to answer questions or whatever, or be available. I get their point, and I see their point, and I understand, and I feel for them, but I also know it is my land, and I've paid the taxes. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like it if I came on their land and said, you've got to pull that flower up because sunflowers scatter, and they're going to be in my hayfield, my pasture, and I'm going to have to spray. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't like that. And as far as health, no-till, I am kind of against no-till. I have grain, I raise grain, but I don't like all the chemicals that is put on the ground, which I've not heard anybody much mention. But then again, I don't like erosion either. So what's the answer? We must keep electricity, we must keep growing, we must keep up with our economy. And as far as health, I've spent the last 2 days in an oncologist's office. This is my 3rd time with breast cancer. I'm not concerned about the solar panels. I mean, the chemicals probably have already got me, so I'm going to survive. I'm going to fight it. And I had this long thing, but then as I was driving here from Bowling Green, I just kind of shredded it. You know, any of us can get sick at any time for any reason. I don't know why I've got breast cancer. I don't know. This is the 3rd kind I've had. I've had 5 doctors to tell me that I am the only person they know that's had all 3 types of breast cancer in their life. I like to be unique. What can I say? But the farm is important to me, and so is this solar project. And I've worked with them for 5 years. I feel like I know them pretty well, and I feel like I'm personal friends with them. Some of them even check on me more than some of my neighbors do. And I appreciate that. And I've never felt uncomfortable asking them anything, and if they didn't know, they'd say, okay, let's go see if we can find an answer for you, because we don't want you to have any doubts. I also spoke to a couple of people in Texas. I have a cousin that lives in Texas, and amazingly enough, they don't have issues with water. Their livestock is still alive, and they're doing good. So I would ask that you all would consider allowing Greene County to continue to grow and to be economically strong. I mean, even the churches, you know, we send people on, half of this side goes to my church. You know, we send people on mission trips. Where'd that money come from? It comes from the farmers, a lot of it. A lot of them work public jobs. A lot of it comes from there. But why cut your nose off to spite your face? I support the solar company, and I thank you for your opportunity.
Thank you. Tina Beard.
So my name is Tina Beard, and I don't have anything fancy to say, nothing planned, no cute words. And I do love my neighbors, and I love my county, I love my country. And I do feel like us as country neighbors, we do help each other. And just kind of like Mr. Mike Matney said, I think we always have, and I think we always will. And I don't want to tell anybody how to do or what to do on their land. It's not that. But as a landowner that connects to some of this, we were never officially mailed anything or told anything about this. And anytime, actually I'm representing my husband, he had other obligations that he had to do tonight. So this is his stuff, but his land is just as important to him because it's been also handed down through family. And I have children that love and bleed and love that land and bleed for that land. We were in that CREP program that they brought up, and he had done some research on that, and that was to promote wildlife. That was to promote everything. And then, you know, with this, we have friends that live in other counties that have the solar panels, and we have went and we see how it is. And there's no wildlife there. There's no way for wildlife to even come in and go around and to live and survive. And like I said, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. I do want them to know that, you know, it is their responsibility and their choice, but it does affect everybody around. Like I said, there was no There was no notification. There was no letting anyone know. There does need to be some clarification. There's been several questions asked on distance. And, you know, whether it be a house, a barn, a landline, there should be one answer for it, and it should be something thought about. You know, if there's a person living there or going to live there, it should be clear on how far away it should be allowed. We found, and I'm not going to read it, but there is a Kentucky Farmland Protection and Solar Siting Policy that was actually put into place in December 2021, KRS 262900. And basically, it says that it's to protect the agricultural land and its valuable resources, though it be fragile, that it is to have backing. And this policy is to conserve and to protect and encourage development. You can pull that up and you can read it. You type it in and it'll pop up. But like I said, we all love our land, we love our country, and we love our neighbors. I'm not saying that trying to make a fuss, but I'm just saying that there needs to be regulation and there needs to be a lot of information, or I think there would have been a lot that would have came forth earlier. I appreciate your time and you thinking of us to listen. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ricky Young?
Yes, my name is Ricky Young. For those who don't know me, I wanted to say a few words tonight on behalf of my wife, Charla. Also, she couldn't be here because she's home with my youngest son. From the beginning of all this talk about solar panels, our only concern has been the distance where the panels might be to our house. We have a 9-year-old son that is autistic, who loves to roam like most kids on the spectrum. He can be out of our sight in a heartbeat, and either be somewhere he shouldn't or be into something. All this talk about EMF is just fuel for the fire used to persuade others. If you don't know what you're talking about, yes, solar panels produce EMF, radiation, but so does appliances like microwaves, hair dryers and refrigerators, Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, Bluetooth devices, power lines, and electrical wiring. We are betting that everyone has most of these items in their home, and no one is taking up arms for that. The low frequency emitted by these solar panels are far below harmful thresholds and are comparable to common household items, like toasters. How many of you have a toaster? We do. I was approached about a month ago asking to sign a petition against solar. I signed not knowing exactly how the panels were going to be around our property because we had concerns. Later, I found out that the letter had been submitted to the Public Service Commission, which is fine had it been accurate. I not once mentioned concern of any runoff from the panels or Greasy Creek lies in a floodplain. We hadn't been involved in any solar discussion until we were misquoted, and that doesn't sit well. All this speculation and AI generated about the creek and not by us. Greasy Creek floods without solar panels anywhere near us. Those of us who live on our banks know. If you're a landowner, you have every right to grow, plant, build, or whatever you want to do. It is your land. Who are we to tell you what you can or cannot do? who are we to try to stop it? If we want to do something on our property, our neighbors don't have the right to tell us we can't. Our names are not on the farmer's deeds, so who are we to want to stop them from leasing it? A lot of people don't know my profession. I have worked for Geothermal Supply Company for 17 and a half years. If it wasn't for green energy, I would be out of a job. Green energy keeps a roof over my family's heads, bills paid, and food on the table. All this meeting, discussing, and arguing is making so many more upset with family and friends and neighbors. We all have so much more to worry about. Thank y'all.
Thank you. John Shuffett?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Shuffett. I'm Greensburg's mayor. I'd like to thank Ms. Bridwell, who has served with distinction as the executive director of the Public Service Commission since 2020. Thank you. I'd like to thank the panel for being here. I'd like to thank Judge Frank and the Fiscal Court for all their efforts. I have no direct benefit from this project, but I fully support it. What stands out to me tonight is that I see neighbors, friends, family members. You go to church together, and I see a divided room tonight. It is my hope that that division will heal itself over the days and months to come. Individual property rights are sacred to each of us in this nation. Every man and woman should have the right to decide for themselves what is best and how best to utilize their property to the benefit of their family, to their future families. I am as emboldened by the impassioned pleas of Mr. Rick Atwell and Kate Judd and Tabitha Irvin as I am by those of Mr. Houck and Miss Froggett and Bradley Thompson and my wife and my mother-in-law. It feels divided right now, but I don't believe that that division is going to hold. Those who have chosen, who have decided this is best for me and my family, these are people you've known your whole life. Those who are opposed to it, you've known them your whole life. You're still going to go to work together tomorrow. You're going to go to church together on Sunday. Next family reunion, you're probably going to be breaking bread together. And that's okay. And I hope that you will. It feels tough in here right now. I know that. I feel it. And I don't stand to lose or gain a thing. I hope that you will, all of you, look inside yourselves and remember that your family, your neighbors, if any one of you needed something for or against this project, I know that you'd be there. I know that you would be there for your neighbors. I know they would be there for you. This is not easy, but this is what the democratic process is about in our country. This is a good thing. It might not feel so good tonight, but this is a good thing. I could not be more proud of every one of you, Mr. Decker, for your comments, Anthony Curry for your comments, Mike Madney. What a unifier. No matter what happens next, let's decide to stick together, okay? I appreciate you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you. We've gotten through the list of people who signed up to speak. Have I missed anyone? Would anyone like to speak? Nope. Okay. If no one else would like to comment, we'll adjourn this meeting, but remember that you can submit written comments to the sitting board by either mailing or emailing them to psc.comment@ky.gov, and be sure to reference the case 2025-00151. And there is also an additional opportunity to provide public comments at the beginning of the hearing that will be held at the Public Service Commission in Frankfurt on December 18th, 2025 at 9 a.m. And with that, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for all of your comments. And we'll go ahead and adjourn.